All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Andre Ward condemns Errol Spence for A-side tactics over Terence Crawford, but pretty much wants Errol Spence to save Terence Crawford's career. That's at least what it sounds like to me. Let's talk about what Andre Ward and a little bit of what Tim Bradley had to say about Errol Spence and Terence Crawford in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, always love talking about Andre Ward. At the same time, do not like talking about Andre Ward because I think very highly of Andre Ward as a fighter. I think very highly of Andre Ward as a person from everything that I can see. I don't think very highly of ESPN and their producers, though. So, in the back of my mind, I just hold out hope that some of the things that I hear coming from Andre Ward are really kind of a combination of what he thinks and what ESPN their brass thinks, what the people around him thinks at Top Rank and such. So in short, I'm always looking for a reason to give Andre Ward an excuse that sometimes you just can't do it because it's just not there. But in this particular instance, Andre Ward is sitting talking with being interviewed by Tim Bradley, and I believe it's a year-end show. I was only sent clips. And I was sent a clip of Andre Ward saying something about Errol Spence, and then Tim Bradley saying something about Errol Spence and his Canelo Alvarez fight. And to me, I thought to myself, these guys don't believe the crap coming out of their own mouths. And if they do, that's only because they really have some self-interest in it that makes them believe this stuff. Because when I listened to Andre Ward admit that Errol Spence Jr. had, well, how did he rephrase it? He had the play that we see the play. And I was like, I see the play. Oh, like how the play unfolds. Like I see how it is going to unfold. Like this is who this fighter is. This is who this fighter is. This is the option that this fighter has. This is the option that this fighter has. So Andre Ward said, we all see the play. Errol Spence has all those other welterweights over there. And yeah, you've done, you fought these guys, you become the best, But hey, it's time to fight It's time to fight Terence Crawford. This is what he's saying. And I say, okay, you got the play. I was like, oh, and I stopped. I was like, Andre Ward is getting better. Like, that was a good one. Like, I almost didn't catch it. I did catch it, but I don't usually see these things. So around just everybody doing this all the time, this is a little bit higher level chicanery, right? This is higher level chicanery because of the subtleness of it. Now, he says that, but let me give you the tactic that he uses. He acknowledges your point in the front. Then he acknowledges your point, but slightly rephrases it and then dismisses it and moves on with his argument as if that is going to work. No, Andre. If we have the play, then we have the play. If Errol has the play, then he has the play. What he's supposed to do is follow the play all the way through. That's what plays are, right? See, that was one level of what he said where I was like, no. If I see the play, it is my job to finish the play all the way through. If I have everything on my side, it is not on me to come over to you. I'm finishing the play. I have you wounded. You are desperate at the end of the fight. You need a knockout to win. You have to come rushing at me. I don't have to follow you around. The play is, it's round 11. I've been beating you up for 10. You are way out. No, I'm not going to get in some exchange with you. I'm going to move, just jab you, keep you away. And if you walk into something, I can knock you out. Great. If not, then, hey, I'm going to win on the scorecard. That's the play. If that's the play, then I'm going to play the play. Don't tell me, Andre, that I know that we see the play and now we're supposed to do something other than the play. No, if he sees the play, run the play. If you don't run the play, the coach throws you out. If that's what he meant by see the play. But I was like, no, that's not the play, Andre. Like, I was like, no. Even though he said, hey, he has the play and he named what the play was, I'm like, no, that's not the play. Because it's not the fighters. The reason that it's not the fighters that are all over there that are the problem. The fact that he's got multiple fighters that he can fight. Errol Spence has multiple fighters that he can fight that are the problem. The problem is that Errol Spence Jr. has all the fans. And all the fans go to see him fight. And the fans pay for his pay-per-views, and the fans don't do that for Terence Crawford. Because Errol is, at least in my opinion, because Errol has all those fighters. And since Errol has all those fighters and he's fighting all those fights, he's getting the fans to want to see him fight. So despite the fact that Andre Ward says the play was that you have all these fighters, it's not really the play. What really happened was that you have all these fans, and these fans are going to support you in all these other fights that you have, whether or not that guy is Terence Crawford or not. The guy, it could be Canelo Alvarez. It could be Manny Pacquiao. It could be Terence Crawford, because he has the fans, not because he has access to the fighters in a promotional situation. If you don't believe that, and I will prove it. Because the fans want to see him fight Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford is on the other side of the street, right? So it's not, Errol Spence does not have the advantage over Terence Crawford because there's more boxers over there in the PBC. Now, the fact that they had more good fighters over the PBC may have allowed Errol Spence to beat them and then pop out of the top and now become a star, but it's not the fighters just being there, it's the fact that he fought them. That may sound like a subtle differentiation, but it's not. It's huge, because if it was that there was just a bunch of fighters over there and that's why Errol Spence Jr. has the advantage, then Sean Porter would have the advantage because he's at the PBC and there's a bunch of fighters at the PBC. If Andre's thinking was correct, then Keith Thurman would have the play. He would be he's not. You know why? Because people got ticked off at Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman wouldn't fight Errol Spence. This whole thing with Terence Crawford is just a repeat of what went on within the PBC with Keith Thurman. You're not ready. You got to do more. All of this, that stuff was already in play. But more important than any of this is the fact that if Andre wants to get the fight, because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like you had Andre Ward, who, because over there at Top Rank, this is what it looks like to me. It looks like the black fighters got mentors. And it seems like a mentor of Terence Crawford was the older Tim Bradley, because Tim Bradley is older than Andre Ward. The mentor for Shakur Stevenson is Andre Ward. He was his manager, whatever, but you get my point. These guys have their own fraternity. They got their own brotherhood. These guys are fighting on ESPN. They're training in the same camps. They're around each other a lot. They really support each other. And I can appreciate that, because that shows that there is a culture within Top Rank of these black fighters supporting one another. And I like that. However, that does not mean that Terence Crawford gets to willy-nilly run around acting like a fool, talking about people's car accidents and then saying he doesn't want the fight, acting as if he's the big money man. He's not. Okay? When Andre Ward said, hey, man, here's the play. Yeah, you've got all these fighters. Nah, dog, your promoters, you wash that down too much. No, Errol Spence Jr. has the play because Errol Spence Jr. has all the fans. And the fans believe, by and large, that Terence Crawford is ducking because Terence Crawford is entangled, like Jada Smith said about the dude she was jamming, entangled in a situation with Bob Arum. You see what I'm saying? People do not have to care about that stuff, man. And like it or not, Errol Spence Jr. continually gives people exciting fights, and that's the problem with Terence Crawford. He does not. So if Terence Crawford, it doesn't matter. If Terence Crawford could fight Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor and knock those guys off back to back, that's all he really needs to create a whole lot of buzz, even amongst the fans of Errol Spence, to force Errol Spence Jr. to make the fight. But right now, because Terence Crawford don't fight nobody, it's tough to force Errol into that. Terence and get Errol into that, especially when Terence acts a fool. But I hope to see the fight. I do believe most people want to see the fight, and we'll see what happens. But you let me know what you think in the comments section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.